Mm-mm-mm. Let's go. World of Matches is back, just like we promised you we would be, doing the second half of our mock NFL 2024 draft for you guys. Last week we did 1 through 16. 1 through 16 is pretty straightforward. 16 through 32 gets a little bit, 17 through 32 gets a little bit more tricky, a little bit more in depth, a lot of tackles going on. I am Dexter Reed, your host. On the other side, my A1 from day one, Mr. Spencer the Wiz. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome him in. What's up, bro?
Yeah, I was just thinking when you said that, like I swear, like if you're a Tennessee Titans fan, you can go ahead and buy your Joe Alt jersey. You can order it right now. You just do the custom name on the back because I'm telling you, that guy is such a Tennessee Titan. Like 1 through 16 really does feel like it's starting to get settled out for sure.
Yep, and it's going to be a really awesome draft, man. Every day, I think I have done a different draft, and I've come up with like 50 different combinations to this point.
Yeah.
But once you start getting into the middle of the draft, it becomes really tackle dominated. And that's where we're going to lead off today, starting with pick number 17, the Jacksonville Jaguars. I have the Jaguars selecting Jackson Powers Johnson, center from Oregon. Now, he can move all over the line. I think the Jags are starting to recognize that they haven't really given Trevor Lawrence enough protection. He takes a lot of sacks. Powers Johnson fits the mold of a guy that you could just put on the line. You can move him around, and he is going to do what needs to be done. Dominate the trenches. That's what the Jags need right now. They've had a really, really bad season for what you would expect from them. Now they get rid of Calvin Ridley. Run heavy with Travis Etienne Jr. We have to see a bounce back year from Trevor Lawrence, or we're talking about a bust. And so the Jags go out of their way here, and they give him the help that he needs. Your thoughts?
Yeah, he's the best center in the draft. And I know the center is kind of undervalued, but I've been really thinking about this in that, like, it really doesn't matter if you reach. We did talk about this last week, but if you're going to get a starting center at any pick in the draft, they're going to be on your team regardless of where you drafted them. So, yes, is it a little high to reach for a center, but he's the best center in the league. This guy's going to be your center for the next, 10 years, and like there's so much value in that because like when you draft someone and you feel comfortable and like I feel pretty confident that this guy's going to be a pretty high-end level starting center. I don't care what round you take him in. If he's there, you got to put him on your draft board.
I think so. I mean, again, we're drafting for need here. Okay. What do the Jaguars need? They need to prove that they're not going to end up having egg on their face here with the Trevor Lawrence pick that they took a few years ago. It only makes sense to protect the guy. I say you take him and you roll. The Bengals. I have them taking junior 6'6" J.C. Latham, from the Alabama Crimson Tide. This is going to kind of roll into what we just talked about with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look, we cannot have that star quarterback continually getting hurt every single year. Joe Burrow has to be upright. The difference between teams like the Bills and the Chiefs are that they're really doing the best to make sure that their investment's not getting hurt. Joe Burrow is another quarterback that needs to bounce back here, and you do that by getting more offensive line help here. And I think J.C. Latham, the tackle from Bama, who had pushed people around all year long, could be a solid pick for the Bengals here. 6'6", 360. Look, he'll be, I know they don't need a LT, but when you have this kind of prospect that you can potentially move to the other side, now you've got your bookends solidified, and you're not worrying about the pass rush help that's coming from all sides, all areas of the AFC West trying to take your quarterback out. Joe Burrow is a targeted man, and so people know he can't stay healthy, and they're going to be sending the pressure, man. When the Chiefs play the Bengals, they're going to be sending the house at this guy. You have to get a guy like Latham in there. Big, strong, decent combine. I think this is a good pick for them. Your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I like J.C. Latham. I think he's. I think if he plays the right tackle, he'll be the best right tackle taken in the draft. He has struggled against some like athletic bend guys from what I've seen, and maybe a little bit of holding problems, but those aren't too bad. I mean, in terms of technique, he's kind of like a really ready to go kind of prospect. So I think they plug and play, and definitely some offensive linemen are going to get overvalued in the first round simply because of the need of them. So they're just going to get pushed up regardless. So that's part of the draft, and I see that a little bit with him. But at the same time, again, maybe not at left tackle. I don't really like him there, but if they do switch him over to the right side, I think he'd fit in really well and like be a day one starter, which obviously is something that they desperately need.
Well, they got Orlando Brown Jr., you know what I mean? And they're going to give him, I mean, he had an okay year for them, nothing crazy. I think the Chiefs are right for letting him go. So, I mean, moving this kid to the right side, I mean, there are a million worse LTs than Orlando Brown Jr. So I'm not saying that they need to fill that position. I just see this guy's skill set being the type of guy that I can't see Cincinnati passing on this guy. I mean, again, we talk about it all the time. You build a team from the inside out. And the reason why teams like Kansas City, teams like the Buffalo Bills, I mean, dude, do you ever see these guys really getting hurt? I mean, I know Mahomes kind of got rolled on. I mean, that was more like a hip drop tackle thing where the sprained ankle came from. I mean, these guys aren't getting hurt all the time. You know what I mean? Joe Burrow has been injured a lot. Trevor Lawrence has been, these guys are getting rolled up on, man. And I feel like you have to take the beef for these first two picks, especially in a very competitive AFC. I mean, the NFC is nowhere near as competitive as the AFC. And so I like this pick for the Bengals, and moving him to the right side, I think makes sense. All right. Number 19. I have a guy that you like a lot. I like Terrion Arnold here, going to the Rams. Now, I think he potentially will end up going to the Raiders if the Raiders do not take Penix Jr. at 13. But I think when you consider you can just get CB1, stamp it, and then walk away, how are you not doing that here if you're the Rams? One of the Rams' biggest problems is that besides the fact that they let Aaron Donald retire on them now, they don't play the pass well. And they're throwing the ball up pretty decent amount in that division. I mean, when you're playing the San Francisco 49ers and you're going up against Debo, you're going up against Ayuk, you got to have somebody out there who can stop that guy. I think everybody needs to have that CB1, and I think Terrion Arnold is the guy. Look, this guy is as ready a cornerback one as there is coming out of the draft, and he plays a lot of zone snaps. I think he would fit right in with the Rams if he's still there. I have him falling a little bit. I mean, the Raiders could take him at 13, but if they don't take him at 13, I see the Rams snatching this guy up, putting him out there. I mean, when was the last really good Ram cornerback? Marcus Peters. They had that other bum that everyone thinks is overrated that's on Miami now. I forget his name, but I like youth. I like youth. You go out. I mean, look at a Trent McDuffie guy. Get these guys, get them on, let them be the dogs that they are, and that's it. You know what I mean? So I like him going to the Rams.
Yeah, I didn't even have a graphic for him because I really don't think he's going to fall this far. This guy is the best corner in the draft, like you said. I mean, if the Raiders took him at 13, I don't think I'd blink an eye. I've been thinking about it more and more about the Raiders situation, and they're building it's not there yet, but they're building a pretty special defense. They have the opportunity.
They're building a bully. They're building a bully.
And I love Jack Jones. Nate Hobbs obviously plays great in the slot, which I think they always want him to be. He's had to play outside because of the lack of talent the Raiders have had over the past few years at the cornerback position. Jack Jones came on and was like immediately really good. And I think if you had Terry on, you're talking about a really special defense. The defensive tackle position has now been shored up with the best free agent signing, which really plugs in a lot of gaps for the Raiders. I mean, I'm telling you, I know the linebacker position is kind of weak. I mean, Robert Spillane, I think, could have been a most improved player last year. It could have been in the top 5 of that conversation. Divine Diablo is kind of iffy, but again, if you can have 3 really solid corners, I love what they did at the safety position last year. Talking about a top 5 defense. I don't know if they have one yet because I do think they're missing something at the cornerback position. They've been talking to Xavier Howard recently, So maybe that'll kind of get decided. The Raiders have some tough decisions because they really have 4 positions of real need. Like the rest of the team is kind of filled out, but they have 4 positions where they don't have anything going for them. That's the right guard, right tackle. They need another corner, and they need a quarterback, obviously. So you can only have 2 rounds. But I say if you got a starter in any of those positions of needs, you got Gardner Minshew. I mean, I'm starting to lean that way more. But yeah, for the Rams, I mean, if a guy like this fell to the Rams, I think it's a product of how desperate teams are for offensive linemen and quarterbacks. This guy would never, ever in a million years in any normal draft fall outside of the top 10. So
the middle of the draft is going to be tricky because a lot of these tackles are going to push good players down. They're going to push good cornerbacks down. Cozi McKinney is going to go way late. Adonai Mitchell, good wide receivers are going to go way late. These are potentially top 12 players in this year's draft. And I think for that reason is why you're going to see Terrion Arnold end up going later than you think. I mean, if the Raiders take a first-round quarterback, there's no way this guy's going top 15 because these other teams need beef. At 20, I have the Steelers, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have retooled their entire team at this point, taking tackle Talise Fuagua from OSU to play with a very, very, very sound and very, very competent head coach and coaching staff in the Pittsburgh Steelers. I like this guy's reckless abandon. Again, we keep talking about it, team after team after team here. If you cannot protect your quarterback, you cannot win. Russell Wilson has been named the starter. Russell Wilson was on his ass most of last year, and he was pressured and hurried a lot, which ended up making a lot of mistakes. He still had a decent year, but all the dissension in Denver ended up him getting waived. I think they're going to try to squeeze what little juice out of them they can get left, and it starts and ends here by taking an offensive lineman. They have been hampered by their line in recent years, and I don't see why they can't go after and get this guy. He plays tough. He's got super amounts of aggression. He doesn't play with any reckless abandon. He stays within what he's supposed to do. I think this is a lunch pail, blue collar type of, offensive lineman, and I think he'll fit right in with coach, and I like it. Take him, pencil in, put him on the line. Don't play any games here. Win with the beef. I like this pick here for the Pittsburgh Steelers at 20.
Yeah, I think you kind of nailed it on the head, and he's a very physical guy, and I think you need physical players for the AFC North. I don't think there's the perfect fit for him everywhere. He's not the best pass protector. He doesn't have the best hands, but he's very physical, and he's very good at his lateral speed. So I think that if he did go to the Steelers, it's probably the best place for his career to go. And again, I think I wouldn't necessarily – I think in a lot of drafts, he wouldn't go in the first round. But again, you don't really have a choice if you're the Steelers. Maybe this guy is a kind of an early second round grade. But yeah, once you get to this position, you look at who's behind you. All of those guys are looking for offensive linemen. So you just got to take them. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, like I said, coming into today, man, this 17 through 32 is beef. It's beef, and it's like, I want to make the splash and get. I'm telling you, man. Sides. I want to get the flashy guy. Yeah, we need that, but I'm telling you, you build a team from the inside out, and all these guys want tackles. Let me tell you, the top 10 offensive linemen in the NFL coming in right now for this draft, they could all go before pick 20.
Yeah,
I wouldn't bat an eye. Because guys are realizing that if you cannot protect your investment, what's the point of having him out there? Look at what the Titans are going to do. They're going to pair out with Skoronski, and they're off to the races. You must have the beef. Even the Chiefs, who need wide receiver help like no other team, don't be surprised if they take an offensive lineman at 32. That's how important it is. Next, the Dolphins. Dolphins at 21. They're going to take Byron Murphy. There's no question about it here. I think this is a slam dunk, a pick to a team as anyone that I've seen in the draft to this point. He dominated at Texas. Christian Wilkins is gone. They must fill that need. And I think with Miami adding Benito Jones, Novell Gallimore, and Jonathan Hankins in free agency, they have the juice to fix what was left behind with Christian Wilkins being gone. Murphy is more athletic than Wilkins, and he is drafted 13th overall in 2019. So what does that tell you? You cannot let this guy go past this number here at 21. If you do anything here, Miami, but take this guy, you are absolute fools. The fact that he's even going to fall this far is borderline criminal. Your best defensive player is gone. A whole bunch. Van Ginkel is gone. Dude, your whole defense was shredded at the end of the year. Hurt. This is a plug and play that makes so much sense that I'm not even a Miami Dolphins fan, but I would be upset if they passed on this guy. Pencil him in. Stop playing with me.
Yeah, the best run stuffer in the draft. And then, there's a lot of value in that. He's not the best pass rusher. He's not like he's just I don't think you're ever going to see this guy get 10 sacks, which, at the defensive tackle position is like extremely rare. But, you just don't expect that from him, I guess. But if you can get a guy who is going to plug in the gaps, the AB gaps, and it's guaranteed, you can't move him around the line. He's a big dude. But that's also part of his good traits. But I think, like you said, if you losing Wilkerson, 26 years old, it was like your stud defensive tackle. You can't just go into the season without it. I mean, I could see them also going cornerback here because I know they've lost a lot of their secondary too. And I think, I'm sure we'll talk about him, but a guy like Nate Wiggins would be really good for them. But I think Byron Murphy's just a little bit more surefire. Like, if you get him in the first round, like, okay, yeah, like this he's going to be good. And I know for sure he's going to pencil in as a starter on the first day of the season.
Day one. He is an A1 from day one defender. Don't play games, yeah. Miami. You know what I mean? The Bills, the Chiefs, these teams are ahead of you defensively. You know what I mean? You're basically playing
a lot more now than it was last year.
Yeah, I'm telling you, do not screw around. Take Byron Murphy II and let's roll. Next, 22, the Philadelphia Eagles fly. A team that absolutely fell apart after starting 10-1 last year, and they fell apart simply because of their secondary. I had a field day with this, won a ton of money at their expense, and because of that, I think they're going to have no choice but to take Nate Wiggins, the cornerback out of Clemson, and put him in that secondary and cross your fingers. Because at the end of the day, when I watched what Deebo Samuel did to them, what I watched what the Chiefs did to them in the Super Bowl, what everyone did to them. I mean, Drew Lock was throwing game-winning touchdowns against the Eagles secondary last year. The Giants were going at them. I mean, you want to talk about a house of cards. That secondary they started 10-1, and I think they lost 5 out of the last 6 games, and every week is because teams are going at their secondary. Now, I like Wiggins. I like Terry and Arnold a little bit more, but speed is speed. I mean, when you're running a 4.28, you know what I mean? There's not too many, wide receivers getting past you. They're not getting burnt very often. What I don't like about Wiggins is his frame. Guy needs to eat a couple peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and get in the weight room. I mean, he is literally only 173 pounds soaking wet. I mean, smaller DBs in this league, I'm not a big fan of because literally if they don't cover you or you get past them, you're going to run them over. You know what I mean? You can have all the dog in you want, but a 173-pound guy trying to tackle a 225-pound, DK Metcalf, we already know how that ends, but I do like Nate Wiggins. I think it's a match made in heavens here, and I think the Philadelphia Eagles have no choice but to take this guy. You cannot let Nate Wiggins sit there because Terry Arnold's going to be gone. Your thoughts?
Yeah, their secondary is so terrible. I do think he's the next. I do think he's the best cornerback left on the board at this point for sure. Aggressive play. He's athletic. Not the best tackler, but I think that comes along with how small pounds wise he is. But that's something I feel like you can improve upon. It's not like he's really short guy, he does kind of have the size to do it. He's just got to do it. So, I mean, it's easier said than done, obviously. He's a little bit of a risk taker too, but this is a risk the Eagles have to take because they can't just roll back next year and hope for the best. I know they got CJ Gardner-Johnson back, but that's not enough. They got to get another guy on the other end. That's not
enough. And he's a safety. You know what I mean? Literally, Bradbury and Slay, they are up there, man. You know, they're older cornerbacks. You have to get young here. You
Bradbury is
absolutely
just
have
a
to.
name at this point. It's just
Bradbury
a name.
was always a name. Bradbury was always a name. But that's for another show. I mean, go back and watch World of Matchups from week 10 to week 15 and everything I said about the Eagles. You want to talk about a crystal ball. I should be living in Beverly Hills right now because of everything I said about that secondary. Everything I said about that team from week 10 on came true. Everything. And that's the reason why if I'm Howie Roseman here, I don't play any games, man. You get Nate Wiggins and you plug him in there and you roll. Can't play games. 23, I take the defensive edge out of PSU for the Vikings, Mr. Chop Robinson. With a name like that, you don't let this guy fall any further. Danielle Hunter is gone. It's the guy that you have to bring in as his replacement. Look, I like him. He has interior push for a defensive tackle. Kind of has like a Vita Vea, and Kalijah Cansey like frame to him. If they had a baby, there you go. It's Chop Robinson. And look, 3-4 edge rotation. Like, he can be a really, really good player. They have to bring somebody in to, make the whole Danielle Hunter thing not seem as bad. I like his combine. He's got some comparables to Shaq Barrett a little bit. I like this guy for them. It's not a super splash pick for them, but you have to have a guy when you think about your team that you're like, yeah, that's our defensive guy. That's our guy. And that guy was Danielle Hunter. And that guy is gone now. So you have to bring in Chop Robinson here. I think it makes sense to do so. I actually really like this pick for them. I mean, I know they need a lot of help in the offensive side of the ball, but at the end of the day, if you can't stop anybody, if you can't get to the quarterback, you have to be able to get to the quarterback. I mean, Minnesota's another one of those teams, kind of like the Raiders, that is like, they got some major decisions to make here. They do. You got quarterback issues. You got defensive issues. You're going to trade up and give away picks to go get that quarterback, but you cannot forget about your defense here. And I think Chop Robinson, him on the edge, put him in Hunter's spot, pull and pray.
No, I love Chop Robinson. This is one of my favorite late first round kind of guys. An insane first step. I mean, nasty explosiveness off the line. It's really bendy player. I'm going to say something, and I'm not comparing the two of them. I'm just saying it's who it reminds me of in terms of play style. In a lot of ways, Max Crosby, he's on the edge. The guy has a crazy first step. He's very bendy. He's a bendy type of player. When you watch Max Crosby play, it looks like he's like twisting and contorting his body in the weirdest ways. And also, Max Crosby early on in his career struggled with run gap discipline because he's a bendy player.
He's a bendy
get
player.
Far around, and guys
like Gumby.
I remember watching Max Crosby in that first year. A lot of people don't. He was terrible in run defense. He would go all the way around, and they would just cut right through his gap in the inside, and he would get off to the races. These are things I feel like you can teach at the second level. Would like to see a few more moves, but he takes advantage of his first step a lot, and you can get away with that in college, obviously. And I think he'll get some sacks like that in the NFL too. But he's going to have to obviously improve his move repertoire to really have a nice career. But I love Chop Robinson. I think he's one of the more
look good in a
talented
Viking
players
uniform. Yeah. When you talk about the D linemen,
they would be fools not to take him here. That's what I'll say. They'd be fools.
Well, again, just like Miami, losing Wilkins, you lose Danielle Hunter. I mean, you have to fill a need here. Minnesota, we know you're gonna trade up, guys. Minnesota's trading up. Okay, so they're gonna take JJ McCarthy, or they're gonna take a top quarterback that's there. This is happening, but on the back end of their draft, this is a guy that they have. I mean, granted, if they don't trade this pick, you have to fill this need. Chop Robinson's a madman. Get this guy, put him in there. Again, when you let a player go, Danielle Hunter. The Chiefs going to have to do something about L'Jarius. You have to fill that somewhere with something and give the fans hope and give your team hope at that position now that it has been vacated. Don't play games. Take Chop Robinson and go to Sizzler. Next. At 24, the Dallas Cowboys, who have did a whole lot of nothing this offseason, take Tyler Giden, the tackle from Oklahoma. They lose their left tackle. So the one thing I like about Jerry Jones is that they always make sure that their line is intact. which has been witnessed by Dak has had pretty good seasons. Can't close, but Dak has had pretty good seasons, and they win at home. So the beef has always been important to the Dallas Cowboys. You know, Guyton's big, strong, athletic, powerful draft tackle prospect. Look, he's got great length. Dude, he's 6'7". He's got 34-inch arms, guys, and he's 322. He is perfect to fill that left tackle spot left open. He's a little sloppy, okay? But you can coach these things up. But the athleticism, the size, the strength, and the build, look, he moves like a guy that wants to protect his quarterback. This is the type of pick where do not play games. Select this guy and keep it moving, Dallas. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I like Guyton. Like you said, this dude is massive. He just has such a big frame. That comes along with not being the most flexible and, like you said, not the best technique. So, but I think this would be a great place for him to go because they've converted offensive linemen into like Hall of Famers. So I think in terms of his career development, this would be a good place for him. You could also see the Cowboys going Brian Thomas Jr. here if he's still available. I could definitely see Brian Thomas slipping in the draft. And I think they have a big need at wide receiver. I think that they've just been rolling out guys with names for a while. Like to me, like Michael Gallup holds no weight to me anymore. I don't understand.
Michael Gallup is gone anyway. They got rid of him, I believe, right? Yeah.
Oh, did they? Yeah. So I could see that happening. I know they did lose an offensive lineman, so I think they're going to have to juggle who
that's the
they
big
value
one.
more.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any right answer for the Cowboys because I think when they draft one, they're going to still need the other one desperately just as much. But, I don't think they can go wrong with either guy, but they got to feel confident that they can train up Guyton. And I think he's going to struggle in his first year versus Brian Thomas, which I feel is going to help them immediately. And it is Jerry Jones, so, he likes to flash. And Brian Thomas is about as flashy as it gets. So I don't know. It's a tough position, but I like Tyler Guyton. He's just not my favorite just because of how raw he is. He just doesn't have a ton of experience,
Yeah, I think you can train that up. I mean, there's so many wide receivers left. You know what I mean? Adonai Mitchell, Malachi Corley, Ladd McConkey, Troy Franklin. Dallas can get a guy. You're not going to find another offensive lineman like this.
No, not to this talent level.
Not to this talent level. Not. I know he's raw, but you can cook him in practice. You know what I mean? You can warm this. You can put him in.
You just have to grill him in practice all training camp long.
Look what you said about Max, and look at Max now.
Yeah,
this kind of size, strength, and athleticism you
can't
pass
teach it
up on. You can't teach it, and you don't pass on it, especially when you have a huge hole. It's like the dentist pulls your tooth out, and now you got a huge hole in your smile. And rather than fix your smile, you go like buy a chain or something. Dude, fix your grill, dude. You know what I mean? That's the Dallas Cowboys. You can look shiny with some new flash, but when you smile, everyone's going to see that hole. And the same thing when defenses are coming after Dak. If you have that hole, dude, they're going to go after Dak. That's the one thing about the Dallas Cowboys, man. They're going to protect their quarterback. And I think they do it here by taking him. Next. At 25, the Green Bay Packers select Graham Barton, offensive lineman from Duke. Monkey see, monkey do, man. Teams are like, we want one of those guys. Jordan Love had a great season, and they want to make sure they keep him upright. Jordan Love took some sacks that he probably shouldn't have taken. I like Graham Barton. He's going to be, personally, in my position, my opinion, one of the best positionally diverse offensive linemen in this class. I mean, 6'5", 313. That's juicy. You know what I mean? Put that guy on the line. Nice length, nice wingspan. Senior, I mean, he's a 3-star recruit when he arrived at Duke, and he was forced to develop quickly as a college football offensive lineman. Now, he's going to be coming straight to the NFL, and I think they're going to put him right on the line. I think it's good for them in Green Bay to recognize what they have now that they've seen their quarterback flourish. They're like, we can't let anything happen to this guy. And everyone else is taking one of these dudes. We're going to take one of these dudes too. And Duke is kind of more the athletic lunch pail basketball school, but don't sleep on their football program, man. They've got decent decent talent. And I like Barton. He played his final 6 games at center, but he can move all over the line, which is something else I really like in a pinch. You now have a chess piece, at the beef, which only makes sense for me to have him go to a team where you now have a quarterback that had questions, blossom, and you want to put him in a position to take the next step. Favre, Rodgers, those guys all got protection, and I think it continues here.
Yeah, I do. I actually like Barton. Very flexible, very athletic. He can move all around. This is just all depends on your philosophy for offensive lineman. He doesn't have a lot of length. And some people, that takes them immediately off their draft board if an offensive lineman doesn't have the arm length or just the length in general. And he did struggle with speed a little bit. I mean, obviously, he's in the later first round for a reason. I do think they could find a place for him at maybe the interior of the line. I don't like guys with short arms playing the left and right. Even the right tackle position, I think there's flexibility, but obviously you're not going to play him at the left. I mean, if you could play him at the guard, because I'm pretty sure the Jets have a lot of offensive line issues. I mean, last year it was pretty apparent. So I feel like I'm looking down the rest of my list for first round grades, and there aren't a lot of offensive linemen left. I mean, there are projects that you're going to be able to take later in the draft, but I'm talking
There's
about
a couple guys.
Who I have as a first round grade. This is pretty much the
last guy.
Yeah.
Just the last guy. Least. You know what I mean? And I think Jordan Love has earned the right to not have to really worry about getting his head knocked off. And I think that outside of getting an offensive lineman here, they can afford to do this early and then go all defense. I'm telling you right now, the Green Bay Packers are on their way back. And this is a smart move if they take this guy. Because, again, what were they really missing this year besides defense? Jordan Love had to do a lot more scrambling than I think, they probably would have liked to have seen. And so this move makes sense. I like Barton going to the Packers, and I like it a lot. At 26, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Kool-Aid McKinstry, cornerback from Bama. Not only does he have a cool name, he's a good player coming out of a school that grows pros. I like him. I like his comp. His comp for me is A.J. Terrell. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, is he as good as Terrion Arnold? I don't think so. Is he as good as Nate Wiggins? I do think so, which is kind of going to be surprising to me that he'll fall this far. 5'11 and a half, 199. Decent combine. Coming out as a junior, so he's good. I mean, 3-year starter, former 5-star prospect. Look, his game is consistent, and that's what you want out of a quarterback. You want a guy who is consistent. He's well-groomed. His outside release is about McKinstry is that he is so confident to stand on business that he welcomes the contact. He wants to take on the best wide receiver on the other team. He's not shying away from that. And there's not too many guys in this league that want that. Some guys like to be out there and hide, zone. They don't want to play man. They want that help over the top. They want that cover too. Kool-Aid McKinstry is ready to stand on business. And I think that when you look at the Jamel Deans and the Carlton Davises of the world who have now been jettisoned out of Tampa Bay, they have to bring in a guy who can stop the opposing team's cornerback when you're playing Amon-Ra St. Brown's coming at you. You know what I mean? When you got a Deebo Samuel coming at you. His coverage as a tackler is pretty decent as well. He's so much more aggressive than I think a Nate Wiggins. And I like the A.J. Terrell comp. I see a lot of A.J. Terrell in him. Look, he's smart. He's got poise. The fact that he's falling this far is kind of mind-blowing to me, actually. You know what I mean? And I think there's a little swag to his game, and I like that. Put on another couple pounds. I think you got yourself a starting quarterback here. I mean, he's not going to be as aggressive as a Marcus Peters when he came out. He's not going to be as aggressive. He's not going to be like a McDuffie. You know what I mean? But he'll stay with your team's best wide receiver. And that I'll stand on that 10 toes down. I think this would be a good pick for Tampa Bay, taking him here.
Yeah, and they could use the secondary help, and they'd be lucky to get a guy like this. This is a top 15 prospect in this year's draft, in my opinion. Quick feet, good in press coverage. He's good at reading the quarterback's eyes. I mean, you're not going to expect a lot of turnovers from the guy, but those, I don't know. That's kind of overrated in my opinion. Marcus Peters lost his career because he was too much of a risk taker.
Mm-hmm.
It's, he struggles on the sidelines a little bit, and I think that teams will take advantage of it a little. But in terms of just your average play, man to man, you're getting this guy later in the draft. There's no way you can pass up on him. And the Tampa Bay has struggled with their secondary for a long time now. I mean, it's just been an issue. I just feel like they haven't addressed, and it's kind of just.
They haven't been good since Rondé Barber was there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
this would be a great pick for them. This would be one of the top. If they are able to get him, this would be one of my highest graded picks.
This would be a steal. Sure. It'll be a steal, and I'm here to tell you, Terrion Arnold, I could see going first for sure. I think he's a number one cornerback.
For sure.
But a guy like Nate Wiggins going over Kool-Aid McKinstry,
I could see them being flip-flopped. I mean, I think it just depends. Cornerback is such a hard position to evaluate in terms of mock drafts because we saw it even last year that some teams just have these guys graded higher than other ones. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there's not that much of a separation between them. So it makes sense in a, like you and I have our rankings, but there's definitely teams every year in the first round of the draft that will have a cornerback probably graded, 5-10 picks ahead of what we thought they would be.
Yeah, for sure. But it's definitely a need for every team in the National Football League. Nobody can tell me different, but they really need it in Tampa Bay. I mean, they really need it. Their defense has been not great for the last couple of years. Devin White's now gone. You have to give that team some kind of a splash, and they are decent on offense, so now work on your defense. They re-signed Mike Evans. Baker is back. They still got Vita Vea. I mean, they got good players. You know what I mean? Godwin's still there. Rashad White's still there. It's gotta go. You gotta go all defense here if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I think it starts and ends with picking a guy like Kool-Aid McKinstry. At 27, the Arizona Cardinals select Braden Fisk, a defensive lineman out of FSU. Look, he's a DT with below average mass and length, but he can make up for it with his quickness. He is fast for his size. I don't love this guy, and I don't love this pick, but they, after taking Marvin Harrison Jr. here, they're going to realize, look, we have to work on our defense. We can't just continue to backdoor teams and be content with that. We got to have a game record that's going to go out there and help us win games, and they haven't had that since the later version of J.J. Watt. 6'4", 292, good arms, good hand strength. I mean, his prospect grade for me is about a 6.5. I mean, he'll eventually be a plus starter. He's another one of those guys, Spencer, that you got to kind of put in the incubator and let him cook. They're going to have to coach him up. They're going to have to teach him up. I think he is going to be a good pro, and I think this is a good spot for him because, I mean, who's the number one defender you think of when you think of the Arizona Cardinals right now? They have to do something, and all the better guys at the position are gone. And so I like Braden Fisk here. I think he's got the ideal measurables and has a chance to become an impact defender, but it kind of remains to be seen because he'll be out there by himself because they don't really have a whole lot of major names. I mean, he plays with a fueled motor that just doesn't stop as a run defender and a pass rusher. And he leaps out of his stance. So there are some really good things to talk about here. And he comes from a good school that grows pros. So don't get me wrong, but I didn't love this pick when I made it, but he was what was left.
I could see him slipping to the second round. Not great length to him, and I think that could kill him. He also, his bull rush, he needs to get a running start for it. He's a little bit older. I don't know. I think it wouldn't be the most surprising, but I think he's probably a more early second round, maybe a little bit closer to the middle of the second round there. But it is the defensive tackle position. There aren't a lot left in terms of highly graded players, so that could push him up a little bit for a team who needs a defensive tackle that badly.
Yeah, it's not a splash pick for me at all.
Yeah.
But at this point, they went out, and hopefully at this point they'll still have Kyler. There's just some rumors about them trading Kyler, but hopefully they don't do anything stupid, and they have MHJ, Kyler. You still got your great your great running back, and you already have a really nice tight end. So your offense is cooking. It's time to get some players on the D-line. Unless they move up, I can't see
could
them
see them going
really...
after Jurjon Newton. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. I don't know if you
Yeah,
have
they could go
first
after him
round.
too. Dude, I have Fisk ranked higher than him.
Really?
I
I'm a
do.
Newton kind of guy. I know Newton's undersized, but
He's
high energy, he's
small,
quick,
man.
explosive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
So
know.
is Fisk.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean?
These guys
So
are
is
very
Fisk.
similar.
They're
I'm very
very
curious.
similar.
I think this will come down to interviews for the two guys who will get taken first. I think one could get taken late first, and the other one in the middle. I don't think both of them will be taken. I think teams are going to decide which one is their first round grade, and then the other one's going to slip to like the more of the middle of the second round. I don't know.
Yeah.
These guys are. It's kind of hard. They're both undersized defensive tackles, and they kind of have very similar traits. But I have
Yeah.
Newton over him a little bit.
Yeah, I could totally see it.
Yeah.
So this is where the water finally breaks in the draft. You know, we've just been tackle, DT,
Yeah.
O-line, tackle, DT, O-line. Now we're cooking here, okay? Because Sean McDermott is tired of the BS. He's tired, man. And so is Josh Allen. We're tired of this nonsense, okay? We're tired of losing in our own building. We're tired of losing on the road in the playoffs. We are tired, okay? And so not only are we going to go out and get a guy that we want, we're going to go out and get a guy that we know that you want. And this is where they take Brian Thomas Jr., the product out of LSU, top 5 wide receiver, an absolute mammoth. They get rid of a couple guys. They bring in a couple guys, but they don't have a guy like this anywhere on their team. Let's be honest. You know it, and I know it. This is probably Stephon Diggs last year. Guys, it wouldn't even surprise me if they traded Diggs during a draft. They have had enough of his shit. I have had enough of his shit. It's a new day in Buffalo. Big, strong, tough receiver, 6'3", 209. I mean, he's got some comparables. Like Evans, he's got some comparables to DK Metcalf. He's got some comparables to Amari Cooper. If the three of those guys had a menage a trois, this is what would have shown up at the end. 4.33 40, 1.5 10-yard split, vertical jump at 38. I mean, this guy is ready to mob. Day one starter, muscular, physical. This guy is a weapon. And they're going to draft this guy simply because they want guys that can go at those Kansas City corners. Let me tell you something. The Buffalo Bills, everything they do in this draft, they are going to do around Kansas City, Buffalo in the playoffs. Period. End of statement. And if you don't think so, you ain't been watching football the last couple of years. They are tired of losing to Kansas City when it counts. And if you do not pick Brian Thomas Jr., what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? You must go get a guy to fill. Like, don't talk to me about Curtis Samuels. And no, Josh Allen wants a big body receiver that can go get it. This is his guy. I'm telling you, he's got the size, the strength, the length, inside, outside, 50-50 balls. He rarely had issues generating any kind of separation, and he will be counted on as NFL's deep guy. He's unpolished, but you can coach that up. This guy is a blue chip wide receiver. For him to be going this late is absolutely ridiculous at 28. They are going to sign this guy, and they are going to reload and be ready to mob. I'm telling you, Kansas City, you guys better figure out that L'Jarius Sneed, that hole, because they're coming. The Bills are coming. The Bills are coming. The Bills had a shot to go to the Super Bowl this year, and they blew it. You don't think they know that? This is the guy.
Yeah, they lost Gabe Davis too, so there's no way they aren't looking for a wide receiver here. They'd be really happy to have him. I mean, great frame, great long speed, great yak guy. Couple problems with drops. That's something you just put him on the jug machine, I guess.
You can fix that.
He would be a really good, secondary piece to Stephon Diggs. The two of them together, I think. Yeah, I mean, it's really just a plug and play. Gabe Davis really is a long ball kind of guy too, and maybe even get a little bit more speed with Brian Thomas. I think this would be a really good fit. Josh Allen obviously would be very happy. If he's not there for whatever reason, which is possible, I could see it happening, especially with the Cowboys. There are other wide receivers that I think that are available to them too in this position. So I think the draft is lining up very well for the Bills. I think that they're going to be in a good position no matter who's on the board. Someone's going to fall to them for sure.
Mm-hmm. Someone is going to fall to them who's going to be really, really good, man. And I think that based on their wide receiver room now, the types of guys that they have, I could see them passing on Adonai Mitchell or a Xavier Worthy because they've got speed and Diggs. But they just need that Mike Evans comp, man. They need a big body. They need a guy who can muscle somebody. They've been bitched. You know what I mean? And they're not having it anymore. And this is the guy, man. I mean, Brian Thomas Jr. is a top 5 wide receiver in this draft. Nobody can talk me off this, period. End of statement. I know they had neighbors there. You put him on a team with Diggs. We're rocking and rolling, man. It's touchdown, Buffalo. Pick number 29 goes to the Detroit Lions. I am taking Darius Robinson, the edge from Mizzou. Not a love pick for me here. I thought about maybe going wide receiver, get somebody out there to vacate the Josh Reynolds. You know, he's gone now. Not that he was anything major. Give Amon-Ra St. Brown some help. You know, but they already have the generational tight end and Sam Laporta there to eat a lot of those balls up. And so I went defense here to kind of give Aiden Hutchinson some help. I like this guy, Darius Robinson, but I don't love him. I mean, 6'5", 285. He's a little small, but he can get at guys, and you need to, you know, they're going to double Aiden Hutchinson so much in this league. You know what I mean? That you got to have another guy. You just have to have it. And I kind of see like Chris Jones and George Karlaftis. You know what I mean? Like Karlaftis eats off Chris Jones. It would be the same thing here. It would be the same thing here. You cannot just have that one guy. I mean, unless your name is JJ or TJ Watt, and those guys are aliens. You know, I believe that. Like, dude. Their mother sold her soul. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I mean. They were created in a lab, those two. And so you have to have more than one guy on that D line that can get after the quarterback. And the Lions, they really got to have that. I mean, they don't have that. His NFL comparisons like Desmond Bryant, I think. Look, his power and his motor increases the chances of him becoming a good starting base end and reduces the insides on third down. When you need a sack on third down, this is the guy that I'm thinking of alongside with Aiden Hutchinson. I think it makes sense for Detroit. Detroit, you have all the offensive weapons you need. Maybe you find Ladd McConkey late. Maybe you find Malachi Corley late. Fine. But don't mess around here. You were seconds away from going to the Super Bowl, and you can never have too much defense. This is the pick.
Yeah, I like him. He's a great bull rush. He can slide inside, and he's very strong. Not a ton of tools, though. Not as much as you'd like to see. He reminds me a lot of Tyree Wilson. Maybe not as athletic necessarily, but strong, like stronger than like all of his competition in college. And like a lot of Tyree Wilson was about the bull rush, and he just didn't have the tools coming into it. So that's why I like that comp. Just like not as strong. That's why Tyree Wilson went in the top 10 last year. But this would be a really good pick. This guy's definitely. I think he has the opportunity to maybe be like top 15, top 20 in the draft. So, and like you said, we keep talking about some of these guys who would normally go in the top 20 are going to slide closer to the second round just because of what teams need. And this is a guy who would go, I think, top 20 in almost every other year's draft. It just feels like that.
I agree. I mean, we said it when we started this. There are going to be so many good players that are going to get pushed down just because of need. And it's almost like you want to be like play keep away with the champs. We're not letting the Chiefs get that guy. Well, fine, you take that guy, but then they're going to get this other stud dude.
Yeah.
They're getting a guy. They're getting maybe two guys.
This is a really good draft. This
is a great draft.
I don't know if I see all pro kind of guys, but I see Pro Bowlers like Layden in this draft. And you can't understate the value of having guys like that because you can't have all pros all throughout your team. You got to pay them. You got to have guys in the trenches that stay with your team for 10 years. They get 5-7 sacks.
Mm-hmm.
They play right tackle for you for 10 years. Like this is the kind of draft where you can build a foundation of a team.
You really can, man. This is the build your house draft. And I like the fact that there's not a ton of RBs in this draft. You know what I mean?
No,
The days
almost
of big
none.
RBs in the NFL are over. The first running back in this draft may go end of round 2, early round 3. This is a beef draft. This is a speed draft. And like you said, man, I want a guy that's going to play on my line for 7 to 8 years, try to be as injury-free as possible, carry a lunch pail, keep his nose clean, hang out with the line on his days off, study film, and help me win a title. That's what this draft is. And so I really like this pick for Detroit because they got to have somebody else besides Hutchinson. The kid can't do it all. He's nasty, but he's going to get doubled and tripled in this league. Ask Aaron Donald. At pick number 30, the Baltimore Ravens select Xavier Worthy, wide receiver from Texas. Now, I don't love this pick for them because they kind of have a similar guy in Zay Flowers. I mean, the one thing I really don't like about Worthy is that he's only 165 pounds soaking wet. Dude, I have 50 pounds on Xavier Worthy, okay? But a lot of people are going to be gassed off his combine. They're going to be gassed off that speed, and speed kills in the NFL. Now, you got 2 little guys out there, okay? As long as Mark Andrews stays healthy in the middle, there's your beef. You know what I mean? Odell is gone. They still got Aguilar. I think this is going to be the type of thing where they're like, there's no way we can let Kansas City get Xavier Worthy. There's no way. There's no way we're going to get this little Tyreek 2.0 guy go to Andy Reid. We're taking him. We're going to take him, and we'll figure it out later. We'll figure out this. We'll feed him. You know what I mean? We'll get him in the weight room. We'll put him on a food program. Like, we're not letting this guy go to Kansas City. And so they take Worthy here to help stretch the field. Lamar has another nice, shiny toy to work with. They are trying to throw more in Baltimore. I think they just realized that they saw Mahomes and got scared, and they learned their lesson from that. They'll run the ball when it needs to be run, but at the same time, 2 field stretchers is better than 1 field stretcher. And there's no denying this guy's speed. He ran a 4.21 140, bro. My goodness. That's freight train speed. And so it just comes down to elite speed versus frame. He'll find separation against anybody in the National Football League. There's no doubt about that. And he's a legit field stretcher. But the areas of concern, they can create a wider gap between ceiling and floor for me because 165 pounds, bro, is little. That's little. I mean, we're talking Mighty Mouse now. We're talking
like high school weight.
Dude, I was a senior in high school, dude, guys out there smoking freaking crack are more than 165 pounds. And let's be honest, Worthy took some big shots in college, bro. Big shots. One big shot over the middle, and it's curtains. But I do think this is going to be the type of thing where teams are worrying about what other teams might do. And so they snatch him up. Your thoughts on Worthy?
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, definitely the speed is enticing. I could see them trying to replace size. Like Odell Beckham isn't the biggest, but he had a pretty big frame. I'm thinking more like Keon Coleman. I could also see them going Ladd McConkey here as a very mix-up kind of guy. I don't know, like a sweet and sour punch, with who they have
like
now.
McConkey.
Yeah.
I can see Ladd and McConkey on Detroit on the other side of Amon-Ra St. Brown. I like McConkey a lot.
So I think the Ravens have a lot of flexibility. I don't know if they value just having this like really. It all comes down to Lamar Jackson. You're not going to draft Ladd McConkey unless you feel like Lamar Jackson can place the ball in tight windows. That has been the definition of his career, man. Like he just, Lamar Jackson just falls short. As talented as the guy is, when it comes to being a pocket passer, it has been his downfall, I think, every single time. And I think Ladd McConkey would be great for them, but I don't know if you're getting the most out of him when he plays with Lamar Jackson. Keon Coleman having a big frame guy, I think they could like that as a complementary piece to kind of
Adonai
even
Mitchell
out their offense. Yeah.
Keon Coleman of those guys.
Michael Gallup, but yeah, they'll have their pick of the litter. And it's the future of the Ravens is gonna depend on picking the right one because not all of these guys who we're talking about are gonna make it in the NFL. Yeah, it's a dice roll, and that's the nature of the NFL draft. Like I don't even know of these guys who I feel is gonna be, a long-time NFL starter.
They're gonna take the guy they think the Chiefs want.
The pressure is gonna be on them. The pressure is gonna be on them.
The Bills, the Ravens, Cincinnati doesn't have a pick close, but those guys, they're going to take who they think Kansas City's going to take.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And we're playing keep away here because you're going to get a good player. We'll figure out how to fit him in. No worries. But we are not letting Tyreek 2.0 go to Andy Reid. We are not doing it. And that's why I put him there. That's why I put him there.
That makes sense.
I
can see that for sure.
It makes perfect sense. We'll figure out we'll draft a big guy later. There are 25 wide receivers in this draft. We don't need much. Our defense is solid. Maybe we'll fill the spot left by Patrick Queen, but we're going all D here. We're going to get a running back. We're going to get a wide receiver or two. We'll get a lineman, and we're going to see them Chiefs again. I've never seen a team talk so much crap after a loss in my life. Well, we're going to see them again. We're going to see them again. I think this is where it starts and ends for Baltimore. At 31, the San Francisco 49ers jump into the league here. They get into the party, and they take tackle Marius Mims from Georgia. I think this is a perfect pick for them because they don't need much, man. You know what I mean? They are a bad decision away from winning the Super Bowl. And what I didn't like about the Super Bowl is that Trent Williams kind of got manhandled. You know, the best tackle in the entire league, was getting thrown around. On a couple plays I watched, I was like, man, what's up with him? Is he getting older? You know what I mean? He must be. Trent McDuffie was giving him the business. Mike Pennell, who was a practice squad player most of last year, was tossing Trent Williams around. That's eye-opening. And so now we have to start thinking about the future in this guy, Marius Mims, 6'8", 340 pounds. This is your prototypical beef, and he has the makings of a knight. He looks to me kind of like Donovan Smith, except he doesn't hold as much. Throw this guy on the line, call it a day. I like this. He's a talented tackle prospect, and he's carrying a picturesque frame with exciting NFL traits, and he plays pretty good with great technique. Okay, I think he's almost ahead of where he should be. His hand placement is good. He doesn't hold a ton. He's got the size to bend and create movement, and he's got adequate athleticism. Guys, Trent Williams is not going to be there forever. He's not going to be there forever. You have to start thinking about the future. And I think it starts and ends when you have a guy like this fall so far. I think this is the last of the great tackles for round one. And I think the San Francisco 49ers don't bat an eye if this guy's still here. He looks like a great player. He comes from a school that grows pros. You put this guy on a line with the rest of those studs, and you say, Purdy, keep your jersey clean because I got you. This is the pick for the Niners.
Yeah, he has everything that you want. I think he just has a big injury problem, like injury history. I think he has multiple torn ACLs or at least one, and that worries you. Modern medical science, obviously a torn ACL is just not what it used to be. It used to be career ending, and now it's just kind of a roadblock in your career, it feels like. But everyone's a little bit different. And it does make you worry that a guy that big who has a torn ACL, it just feels harder to recover from. So they'll have to do a lot of medicals on him. If he didn't get hurt, I think he'd probably go in the top 15. So I think it's worth the risk, I guess, at that point if you're drafting here, because you're getting a guy who's a top 15 talent, and that's part of the NFL is rolling the dice. But if it works out for you, you have a starting tackle, and you never look back.
And you have him for years and years and years. How long has Trent Williams been a staple of that San Francisco front line? He's been there for years now after they brought him in, and he's solid. I know he had a not great Super Bowl, but they don't get to the Super Bowl without him. At some point, you have to start thinking about replacing him. Trent Williams is like a tire. Offensive linemen are like tires on your car. Eventually, you have to rotate them, and you have to get new ones. Or you cannot live on the tires that you had 5 years ago. You're not going to get the same production out of your car. Same thing here. And I think the Niners would be foolish if they don't think offensive linemen here, because what do they need? They have all the offense in the world. All the cornerbacks are gone. You get the beef here. They're as polished a team in the National Football League as you're ever going to see on offense, on defense, and special teams. Even their backup players can go to other teams and start. So don't fool around. Think for your future here. Draft a Marius Mims on that line because Trent Williams ain't going to be there forever.
I can't think of anyone else they can really take here either. I don't know.
That's the guy.
They don't have a lot of holes on their team, man. It just comes down to Brock
the guy.
Purdy to me. That's always what it's come down to.
That's
For
the guy,
San Francisco, it's always come down to the quarterback position.
That's the guy. And Purdy is going to break the bank. He's going to get paid tons more money than he deserves. Next, my team, the Kansas City Chiefs at 32. After all the hemming and hawing and these other players trying to go to other teams and guys playing keep away, Andy Reid, Brett Veach, Mark Donovan, and Clark Hunt select Adonai Mitchell from Texas. I love this kid. This is the guy that I want. Okay? If I could have anyone, this is the guy. And I'll tell you why. The Chiefs have enough small guys. Okay? They need a taller receiver, not named MVS, who can catch, who is young, who can adjust, who can 50-50 ball, who can muscle. Adonai Mitchell gives you all that. And he's got the speed and the skills to become a very good National Football League receiver. When you give him Patrick Mahomes, this is what I'm talking about now, okay? Look, he's still developing, but he has got what it takes to be the type of receiver that the Chiefs have not had. And I kind of give him like the George Pickens comparison. He's kind of like George Pickens, lengthy, fast. He can give it all to you. 6'2", 205. Chiefs don't have anyone like this, man. They don't have anyone like this. And you have to be able to go over the middle. You're going to have to be able to go long. Adonai Mitchell gives you all of this, man. And I think that it's a mistake letting him go this late. But again, you can't take everyone. Brian Thomas is going to be gone. If someone takes Adonai Mitchell, the Chiefs will take Ladd McConkey. I mean, there's plenty of talent. Look, the difference between becoming a WR2 and a WR1 could rest on his urgency and willingness to go to work in the unpolished areas of his craft. And you think Patrick Mahomes is going to let that happen? Patrick Mahomes had Marquise Brown in Texas the day after he signed. He's like, nah, son, we're not going to the club. We're going to my trainer. You know, after you're done signing that contract, get on a plane to Texas. You hanging out with me. We are three-peating. Patrick Mahomes is giving it to these guys, just letting these guys know you're on this team. This is the expectation, and this is what I like. That's where the leadership comes in. They haven't had a guy like this in so long, since Dwayne Bowe. We have had all these little receivers, Sky Moores, Marquise Browns, Tyreek Hill. Somebody go out there and draft me a comp, you know, to like a George Pickens. And that's what this guy is. And I like this. I like this a lot. They may flip-flop and go offensive tackle. There's a couple guys left. The guy from BYU I could see them maybe going Ladd McConkey, maybe Xavier Leggett. But I think the first guy, Adonai Mitchell, would be the guy that I want on this team. I think he would look really good in red and gold. And I think Patrick Mahomes would salivate at the chance to just be able to throw it up. You know what I mean? Joe Burrow can just throw it up because you know what? T. Higgins is down there somewhere. And T. Higgins is going to out-jump anyone. You know what I mean? We need a guy like that in Kansas City. When the pressure is in your face, you can just close your eyes and throw it as hard as you can. And you know that 8 out of 10 times, his hands are going to at least touch it. That's who Adonai Mitchell would be for the Chiefs. And it would be a huge, huge weapon. And I think he might be too much for them to pass up, you know, even though they probably need help on the line a little bit more. Your thoughts?
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of Michael Pittman Jr. I don't know if that's
great comparison.
Not a yak guy, but he'll catch you the ball. I mean, I don't know. I know that yak is an important part of football, but
they got plenty of yak guys.
Being open and catching the ball is also equally as important, and that's what you're getting out of him. So that's who I see him as. And Michael Pittman was a late first round kind of guy, early second round. So
he's a stud.
These are just very similar comps to me.
Michael Pittman and George Pickens had a baby, and they named it Adonai Mitchell.
Yeah,
there it is, dude.
I mean, if you can get that, then
at 32 for Patrick Mahomes. Man, I'm telling you, the incubation rate on that kid's going to be faster on this team than any other team because Patrick Mahomes rests 1 week out of the year. Like, that's it. Like, I don't even think he knows who his children are. That kid is always in the gym. He is always working. They're throwing balls in Texas right now. I mean, they're working. You might see him out and about with Brittany, but believe me when I tell you, Patrick Mahomes is outworking any other quarterback in the league right now. Dak ain't doing this. Josh Allen ain't outworking. They're not working like this, man. Personal training with his receivers, trying to get that timing. I mean, he was doing this with Juju Smith-Schuster years ago. This is not something new. The Chiefs know what they have, and they know what they need, and they know what they want to do. Their vision is clear, and they know that they need another wide receiver to help. We can't just keep hoping that Justin Ross eventually emerges and Sky Ross or Kadarius Toney ever do anything. McConkey, Mitchell, or Leggett would be the pick here first. Worry about offensive tackle later. I'd just re-sign Donovan Smith to another one-year deal. You have to have a guy in this league in a big spot who you could just throw the ball up to. And T. Higgins ain't going to the Chiefs. So I say you draft. Now you got to draft one. 6'2", 6'3", you have to have a guy like that, man. You have to have a guy like that. And the Bills are about to have a guy like that because they're going to take Brian Thomas Jr. You know what I mean? You have to have the Bengals, or they have T. Higgins if he doesn't get traded. These are teams that you're going to see when it matters. These are teams that you're going to see in January and late December. And they have it and you don't? Nah, fam. Nope. I think Brett Veach pulls the trigger and he gets his guy here, and I'm going to like it a lot. I'm ready to buy this guy's jersey because he is really, really good. And he played on the other side of a Xavier Worthy. You know what I mean? And this year he's going to be playing on the other side of Marquise Brown. Dude, it's not going to be much difference. You know who's going to eat this year? I'm telling you right now, I think it's crazy to even think so, but I think he could even have a better year than he had. Travis Kelce is going to eat. If Travis Kelce gets off this Taylor Swift thing and starts really working at his craft again and loses a couple pounds because he got heavy, but really goes into this year, and they're going to monitor his reps and keep him fresh. But that the underneath in Kansas City is going to be open like 7-Eleven. Kelce could catch 100 balls this year in this offense because he's going to have guys taking guys downfield this year, and nobody in this league knows how to get open like Travis Kelce knows how to get open. This is going to be a fun year to watch for Kansas City. So that's it. That's our first round measurables, guys. That's our draft. I've done 50, 60 of these. This is the one that I like the most, but every one I come up with can be different. It's going to be real interesting to see which way teams go, which way the Raiders go, which way the Chiefs go, which way a lot of these teams go, because a lot of teams need help. What I would like to see, honestly, is just a huge splash in the first 5 picks. Something that's not chalk that will shake up the whole league. But we'll see what these teams are thinking about doing. Parting shots, Spencer.
I'm leaning more and more for the Raiders to, if they stay put, I really truly believe that Michael Penix won't be there. And that sucks. I also kind of feel that if that does happen, I think the Raiders can come out of the first 2 rounds with a starting cornerback and a starting either right guard or right tackle. And I don't think I'd bat an eye if that was the case. I know a lot of Raiders fans would be really upset having to roll with Gardner Minshew for a year. But if you can get 2 starters that fill in the 2 biggest needs on your team,
get Terry on Arnold
away from getting a cornerback or a quarterback that you just plug in, and you got the best top 5 defense. You got your offensive line shored up. Man, I know the idea of waiting a year sucks because it's a long 17-game season, but it's like Gardner Minshew did take the Colts, as far as he could last year.
Playoffs.
I can live with it. I've waited my entire life for a good Raiders team. Another year makes no difference to me. Doing it right is important. Like, if they go with Bo Nix, I think I'd jump out the window. I swear. I think
Nix is good, man.
I can't. I'm not saying he's bad, but I can't take athletic Andy Dalton. Like, I'm sick of QB 15 for the Raiders.
You already had Derek Carr, man. It's time for a guy.
If Michael Penix isn't there, you just say we're not getting a quarterback this year. It is what it is. Man. It didn't fall in our place. Let's go get starters to fill out the rest of our team. So when we do draft a quarterback, he's ready to go on a playoff-ready team.
Yeah, I could see it. I don't agree with it, but I could see it. I think it's now or never for the Raiders. But, yeah, I definitely don't disagree as much as, maybe a lot of people think. I just think this is it. I think these kind of draft prospects don't come around.
If they traded up for Michael Penix Jr., I also wouldn't blink an eye. So.
Yeah, I don't think you even have to, unless you think the Broncos are going to snipe you. I think Minnesota is going to trade in with the Broncos, and he's going to fall right in your lap. But that remains to be seen. My parting shots is this Caleb Williams guy, man. I'm worried about this guy. No, for real, dude. I'm worried about this guy. If I was a Bears fan,
know.
I'd be really concerned. And I'm not, look, I don't care what anyone does with their personal time. I care about what you're doing for my team. And if he comes in and he's a leader of men and he makes it happen, let's roll. But the off the field stuff, man, I don't know, man. You know what I mean? The nail polish and the pink.
It's my generation.
And the lipstick, dude. Hey, like I said, man, I'm not a hater. I'm
You're gonna see this a lot more, I promise you. My generation is starting to make their way into the NFL now, so you're gonna see crazy, a lot more.
I'm watching the Bears with a level of enthusiasm that I haven't watched another team in a while, because I think they're doing it right, and I think Ryan Poles is doing a good job. But what is between this guy's ears, man? This is going to be your leader. This is going to be the guy in your huddle that 6'8", 400-pound linemen are listening to. Come on, bro. You know what I mean? Come on, bro. And every day it's something different. Every day. You know what I mean? I don't want my quarterback wearing a dress. I'm sorry, dude. Y'all can hate on me all you want. I could care less at this point. This is my show, man. You don't like it, don't listen. You know what I mean? I'm looking for a leader of men. I'm looking for a quarterback. I'm looking for Will Levis. I'm looking for Josh Allen. I'm looking for Justin Herbert. I'm looking for Patrick Mahomes. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for all these off-the-field distractions. You know what I mean? I'm looking for a leader of men. And I'm taking you number 1 overall. Dude, if this doesn't work out for the Bears, oh my stars. Oh my stars. Bears fans are going to be jumping off bridges. Yeah. Good luck, you guys. World of Mats is bringing the heat. That's it, guys. We're going to take a couple weeks off here.
Yeah.
Draft is coming. It's coming. It's a month out.
Maybe we'll do right before the draft. We'll do our top 10 prospects, not necessarily the mock draft. After the dust has settled a little bit, we'll do our top 10 prospects for the draft.
Yeah, there's been like some BC movement here in free agency. A couple guys getting picked up here, a couple of guys getting picked up there. But we'll take some time off, and right before the draft, we'll come in here and we'll light the fire one more time before the picks go. We'll consider maybe doing something live too. You know what I mean? We haven't done anything live on draft day. It's Thursday, I believe it starts. So, me and Spencer will talk about it and we'll see what we can do for you guys. All right. We are out. Hope you guys are doing well. Enjoy the draft. Thanks for the likes, the subscriptions. Share the videos and let us know who you think is doing what and where. We are